On the morning of Saturday, October 30th, Paramedic Engine 723 and Medic 723 were dispatched to California Circle in Rockville, Maryland, for the report of a cardiac arrest. Meanwhile, Ashley Frayne, who was in town visiting family, had just left her sister's apartment and was walking outside. Miss Frayne saw a gentleman lying on the ground. She sensed the gentleman was in distress, so she went over to see if she could help. Miss Frayne, who was trained in CPR and AED, began to utilize her training and determined the patient was pulseless and had agonal breathing. Another resident was already on the phone with 911, so Miss Frayne began to administer CPR. Upon arrival at the scene, MCFRS crews found Miss Frayne performing chest compressions on the patient. The crews assumed chest compressions and continued high-performance CPR, as well as assisting the patient's ventilations via bag valve mask. The patient was placed on the cardiac monitor, and the initial rhythm was ventricular fibrillation. The patient was defibrillated at 200 joules, an IO was placed, and epinephrine and amiodarone were administered. During the second pulse check, the patient was found to be in VTAC and was defibrillated a second time at 300 joules. At the third pulse check, the patient was found to have return of spontaneous circulation and strong carotid pulses were felt. Neuroprotective hypothermia protocol was induced and a 12-lead EKG was performed. The EKG showed STEMI. The patient was packaged and moved to the medic unit for transport. The crews worked together to monitor the patient's vitals and consult with Suburban Hospital. En route to the ER, the patient's conditions continued to improve. He regained consciousness and was able to communicate with the clinicians. The patient remained alert and oriented for the duration of the transport. Upon arrival at Suburban, patient care was transferred to the hospital staff. The patient was stabilized and taken to the cath lab, where he had a stent placed without complications. The patient was monitored in the ICU and his condition continued to improved, and he was discharged home on November 2nd. The chain of survival is integral to increasing a patient's chances of survival in the event of sudden cardiac arrest. Miss Frayne's quick actions and knowledge of CPR and the skills, teamwork, and professionalism of the crews on the scene all contributed to the successful outcome for this patient. Are you accepting for her?
No, I'm just accepting.
Okay. Accepting for Ashley Frayne is her sister, Brianna. Yes. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Larry McWilliams, and even after 6 months, it's kind of hard to talk about my near-death experience. I'm hoping I'll be able to make it through, but I'll do my best here. So, I've lived in Montgomery County since I was in second grade, and this is my story. I've been an athlete my whole life, gymnastics as a teenager. I won the county public school all-around championship in 1976, just a little bit more than a couple of weeks ago. I've played football, softball, golf. I'm a runner, triathlete, hiker, biker, paddler, backpacker. I'm a sports nut. When my friends heard about this, they said, "Us? Yes, you? No way." And that's just not how it works. I made a promise to myself as a young man to keep myself physically fit for as long as I was able. Today, at 59, almost 60, I still keep that promise. Around 10 a.m. on October 30th of last year, I was out running, training for my next race, the King Farm 5K. I was very excited because my run times were down to sub 8 minute, which is as fast as they were 10, 12 years ago. However, on this day, on that run, my life was about to change. I do believe in divine providence, and there was no doubt someone up in heaven was looking out for me. Approximately 30 minutes into the run, I collapsed in the street in my neighborhood. I'd had a heart attack. Someone called 911, I'm not sure who. In fact, to this moment, I have absolutely no memory of that entire day, it remains a mystery to me. Taken to Suburban Hospital, I began to come aware sometime during the very early morning hours of the next day. According to my son, before that, I stayed up almost all night asking him the same set of questions over and over about what happened and why I was in the hospital. He said it was like the movie Groundhog Day, where Bill Murray keeps reliving the same day again and again. I spent 4 days in the hospital recovering after my cardiac catheterization surgery to place a stent in my left anterior descending artery, the LAD, also known as the Widowmaker because not many survive a heart attack from a blockage of this artery. Everyone at Suburban was amazing. The nurses and doctors who took care of me were fantastic. When I needed them, they helped me and gave great care, but really, without the ambulance crew and a very special angel on earth, I would not be here today. My heroes, the first responders. Once I got out of the hospital, I wanted to show my deepest appreciation to as many of the people who helped me survive as I could. I brought 2 large food baskets to the ICU where I spent 4 days. I was able to find out that it was Firehouse 23 who brought me to Suburban Hospital as a cold heart patient. Fortunately, the firehouse is only about a half mile and maybe 3 minutes from where I currently live. The graph of my heart rate on my running watch showed a big, long, bumpy downward slide of my heart rate from 180 beats per minute to 0, and indicated about 2 minutes of no cardiac activity. And then a weak but sustained heartbeat, which until a few days ago I thought was due to the arrival of the crew from Firehouse 23, but instead it was someone else. Someone who cares enough about humanity to stop and save a stranger's life. An angel on earth, a good Samaritan. You stayed and you gave me effective CPR until the ambulance arrived. I'm sorry I did not find you sooner. I knew you had to be out there. I knew I could not have made it without you. Nothing else made sense to me. So from my family, from me, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for helping me live. God bless you and your family and the person who called 911. I am extremely thankful. About 3 weeks after I got released from Suburban, I went up to the firehouse when I was told the same ambulance crew that saved me that day would be on duty. I brought them the biggest box of Omaha steaks I could find and 2 large ice cream cakes. I was so very happy to thank them, visit with them, get a photo, and ask them if they could help me again by filling in some of the missing information about what happened to me that day. They said they gave me CPR, defibbed me 3 times, and then I sat up and rejoined the living. They also told me that I then proclaimed myself fine now and didn't really need to go to the hospital. They said, "Sir, you just had a heart attack. You have to go to the hospital." Then I told them, that sounds exactly like something I would say. The other thing they told me, which made me sad, was that very few people ever come back to say thank you to them. I said there was no way I wasn't coming back, and thank you for saving my life. Thank you again to the ambulance crew at Rockville Firehouse 23. I will never forget what you did for me. My social media tag used to say, live to run and run to live. Now it says, every day is a blessing. The only reason I am still here is you and the kind, thoughtful, Good Samaritan angel on earth. Thank you, thank you, thank you.